Welcome back to the pod. Matt Kim here from a special crazy episode from the middle of Bucharest, Romania, from an undisclosed location with, guys, you guys know who it is, but we got to mention it now. We have the man, get off your ass and do something difficult. What color is your Bugatti, Mr. Andrew Tate?
Good to see you, sir.
Hey, awesome. Thank you for having me. This place is amazing. I'm so glad. And I'm going to try to convince you before we start if we can use the headphones.
Why do we need headphones? I can hear you perfectly fine.
I like the idea. People think that you use headphones for hearing each other.
Yeah.
I like the headphones because for the sensory deprivation that it creates.
Exactly. That's exactly what my enemies want. You know, I've actually had a beef with headphones. People don't realize that. It's kind of funny on the internet. They say, old Tate had a beef with everything. And they're right. I guess I did. But I always had a beef with headphones. And I know we're in a pretty secure setting. But I've made many videos saying that headphones are probably the most stupid thing a man can wear. I see people wearing headphones in public.
Yes.
And they're just asking to die.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. You can't hear a car. You can't hear me. I'm 6'3", 100 kilo. I can sneak up on you without trying and break your neck. So I don't know. I'm kind of anti-headphone. Maybe it's just because it's a principled thing. I know that I'm pretty safe here, but I'd have to recheck in with the security team. And I'm on bail, so I can't carry the strap. And I just feel safer if I can hear the knock at the door, you know?
So that's why we intentionally created the most secure location we could possibly find. Yeah. I like the headphones because really it helps you focus into the conversation. It blocks out the entire world. So I know that you're trying to be aware of the world around you, but the point is to block out the world so that we focus in on the conversation. Nothing else matters. And I think when I record with headphones, you kind of almost forget that the world around you exists. And it creates kind of this weird space.
I believe you, but I don't know. Unmatched perspicacity. I'll think about it. Maybe 10 or 20 minutes in, I might put them on for a little while and test it out. But I think I'll be nervous. And it's kind of crazy because I say these things and people think I'm nuts, but my life's pretty extreme now.
Yeah.
I mean, at the back of my mind, there's always who's going to knock on the door. Is it going to be the police or is it going to be the other guys? That's always on my mind all of the time. So it's kind of difficult to fully relax. So the headphones, I'm not sure about. I'll think about it. I'll do my very best for you because you're a very nice man and you've flown all the way here.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of time to build up the courage and I'll see if I can put the headphones on.
If you guys are watching, maybe leave a comment. Should Andrew wear the headphones or not? I think that'd be an interesting way to start out the conversation.
Well, bro, but I see people in public with headphones on and you are so killable for the sake of listening to a song you've heard 300 times. I don't understand how people go through life without ever considering that there might be somebody who wants to remove them from Earth. It's insane. I had a conversation the other day with a girl. She was talking about swimming with sharks or something. And she said how fun it would be. And I said, why would swimming with sharks be fun? And she said, oh, but the adrenaline and, you know, it's exciting. I get adrenaline walking to my car. I have enemies who want to get me. Like by the time I leave the establishment and my head's on a swivel and I try and see if anyone's going to kill me or not, or any of the police are going to arrest me because there's a police car over there. And I finally get into the car, the door's closed, that I can relax. I have enough adrenaline in my life. I do not need sharks. No. And I kind of want to hear them coming because I think that's my only chance to survive.
Do you feel like maybe then you're living kind of paranoid?
You're paranoid every day until you're right.
Huh.
I was called paranoid every day until I was arrested.
It's true.
I kept saying, you have 3 lives. First, they cancel you. Second, they throw you in jail on some garbage. Third, they kill you. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're not going to jail. Jail for what? Well, here we go. Yeah, I went to jail. And then people are stupid enough to say, well, just get a lawyer. As if the law is real. As if a lawyer can help. None of it's real. It's all made up. Every single system we live under is corrupted to the core. And if you speak too loud and you get too big, they're going to punish you.
Isn't it crazy how well that I got 3 lives aged?
Bro,
You know?
I've never been wrong about
It
anything.
aged well. It aged really well.
My whole brand is built on fantastic predictions. Like anyone who's been following me for the last 5 or 6 years, some people are new to it, but I was calling pancake swap at 10 cents. And I was calling, like, there's so many examples. There was actually somebody who did a fantastic edit. I'll have to find it and put it on X, where it was about like 25 of my perfect predictions. And I knew I was going to go to jail because I was sitting with Tristan in Dubai and we're sitting in this mansion that costs $250,000 a month to rent. And we just bought our own mansion, which we're renovating. And we're sitting there, and there's all these girls in the pool, and there's a Bugatti on the drive, and everything's perfect. And Tristan goes, we made it out. Like, life's good. He just said, look around you. This is great. We're smoking shisha. And I said, no, we're fucked. Because the universe doesn't work that way. You don't get a Bugatti on your drive, 20 women in your pool, a huge mansion, children who love you, money coming. Something's going to go wrong. And Tristan said, well, what can go wrong? And I said, well, either we're going to die or we're going to go to jail. And I was right. I'm not.
You don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right, but I guess it's better to be paranoid and prepared and incorrect. I think I'd rather the few times in my life when they finally write my biography, they say Andrew was only wrong a few times in his life when he had over-prepared and life went better than he expected. That's fine. I'll take those losses. I will not take a loss the other way, sir, where I'm under-prepared.
Before I go too far, I got to read my legal disclaimer.
Yeah, that might keep us out of jail.
This has got to keep us out of jail. I have my own. I know you have your own. I got to do mine.
Cool.
Let me just. I, Matt Kim, am here on my free will. I have not been coerced and can leave at any time. Absolutely no exchange of money or profit has been discussed nor agreed to. The Matrix was a movie, actually trilogy. Joe Biden received 81 million legitimate votes. An entire year with 0 flu deaths is normal. And the mainstream news is honest and fair.
I like that. That's very good because people often ask me, I don't know if you've seen this. There was a picture when I was first arrested of my case files, and there was all these pages and pages of evidence, and everyone's saying, look, he's guilty. Look at all these case files. My case files are just translated podcasts.
Yeah.
So every word I say is used against me in a court of law. So I want to say to the camera, I don't have an official disclaimer as professional as you, but I'll say to the camera that I'm a liar. Everything I say isn't true. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm completely lying. I'm a liar. I'm a comedian. Don't listen. Don't listen to anything I say. Just as you quite rightly pointed out, 81 million legit votes.
Legit votes. Today is a discussion of ideas. Sometimes men speak in absolutes or hyperbole or use sarcasm to move along a conversation or get a point across. Every single idea does not require a discussion of the random exceptions.
Bro, that's the perfect one because the random exceptions is how most of these people are living their lives.
It's crazy, isn't it?
The random exceptions is how they manage to justify their insanity and inanity. It's endless.
You'll talk for 2 hours, and I do this all the time. We talk for 2 hours or do a podcast or put up clips, and they'll find like 5 or 10 seconds and be like, look at what you said.
Which is crazy because if you're going to go through life thinking that exceptions disprove the rule, well, then you're a dummy. And I don't know how these people have managed to survive for so long. It kind of shows how soft societies become where these people survive. Because in days of old, the idea was that the lion will eat you if you go near the lion. Now, you may go near a lion and he's tired and he's just eaten and he's nice to you. There's exceptions that disprove the rule. But in general, if you want to survive, you have to take the rules and adapt them. Which is why I say, it's something I said which is really controversial and it sent the world on crazy, but I'll say it again, I don't care. I say I don't let women drive me in cars. I don't. That's my personal choice. It's my personal preference. A man will drive me, I will drive, or I will walk. And they'll say, oh, but some women can drive. I'm sure. Yep. But in my experience, if I want to live, no, women don't drive me in cars.
I mean, and I don't think that's that crazy to say because if I'm with my wife and it's raining, she'll be like, you need to drive.
100%.
What's wrong with that?
100%. It's exactly the same with me. Any woman I'm with, she's like, oh, please, you drive. I was like, okay, I will. Keeps us all alive. You can play you can be DJ, you can play the songs, everything's fine. But you can't say this online because there's going to be some idiot who's going to sit there and try and pull up statistics or some garbage or find a girl who was a race car driver in 1981 and say, look, as if that disproves the rule. And you have to live your life by rules because if you don't do that, you're going to get eaten by a tiger one day.
Well, they'll throw up the statistic that men crash more than women. I'm like, well, because in dangerous situations, men drive more. Of course. They're actually taking the risk.
100%.
So,
we can actually, because all my gendered arguments get me in trouble.
Another disclaimer.
As a professional, I was lying. I'm a comedian. As a professional, I'm going to extrapolate it out towards something else. But I think that I don't trust anybody who doesn't have emotional stability in general. I think we could argue, in general, men are more emotionally stable than women. So if you're going to put somebody in a stressful situation, whether it's aquaplaning a car, turbulence on a plane, physical violence, whatever it is, you're going to want somebody who has emotional stability and emotional control. You're not going to want somebody who panics easily. And I mean, maybe I know particularly feminine women, but the women I know will panic if I say think fast and throw a starburst at them, let alone an actual an actual event which can be life or death. So, yeah, emotional stability is extremely important in dangerous situations.
Before we get going, I forgot. I wanted to give this to you before. So typically, if you guys don't know, and if you guys travel internationally, typically when you go meet someone, it's custom, I think pretty much all over the world, to bring a gift.
Yeah.
So I got you something because I know you like cigars.
Yeah.
And I know you have your emergency meetings that you do. And I know you're an Elon fan.
Yeah.
I don't think you have one of these.
I don't think. Let's see. What is it? A Starship. I don't have a Starship. No, that's true.
It's made by SpaceX.
Wow. It's like Christmas. What is it? It's a lighter? No way.
Yeah, dude.
Bro, that's epic. That's epic. How do I even do it?
I think you turn the top off. Oh, no,
twist the top?
Yeah, twist the top off. And I can't fly with fuel in it, but yeah.
And does it like a big flame?
I don't know. I haven't been fueling it yet.
I'm going to fuel it up, bro. Yeah. I've got my own spaceship. The haters are going to be really mad now. That's epic. That's genuinely an amazing present. Thank you very much.
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought that'd be a fun one. I thought that's something that you guys could use on your set, and something that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, people often say you have all these cars, you have these boats and jets, but you have never been to space. You don't have the spaceship, but
now you got a spaceship.
Thank you. So before we start, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where did you come from, bro? You just blew up out of nowhere.
I know. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah. It's like one day it was bang. He talks sense. I was like, who is he? I don't know. He's just saying things that make sense.
Last year, my daughter is a year and a half old. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell my story from the beginning. 2021 is when I first found you.
Yeah.
It was the Your Mama's House podcast. Yeah. And if you guys have never seen it, I think that's the best one you've ever done.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Because it was a combination of your ideas with humor and your takes on some women. You can tell that a lot of it was for fun.
Yep.
You understood it. Yeah. It wasn't as polarizing then. This is before you kind of took over the whole internet.
Please tell the Romanian judge that. It would help. Because it's translated in the case file.
Yeah, if you take it word for word and you translate it and you take out the nuance, you're like, all right, this guy hates women. Yeah. You could see it.
Yeah.
But if you hear it, and even Christine, she was laughing her ass off. Yeah. And the funniest part was, well, Cobra Tate, if I'm a dumb bitch, she says this. Amazing. And that was a great episode, I thought. Yeah. That's the first time I ever saw you on the internet. Yeah. And that was maybe August or October of 21, something like that. And I was like, this guy is super interesting. And then you started getting to your takes of get off your ass and do something. Depression isn't real. Yep. You know, like be something. The only people that are scared of ghosts are the people that believe in ghosts. 100%. I love that one. Yeah. And I remember it was 2021 and I was home during COVID and my wife was like, we should stay home. And there's a whole story of why we had to stay home. Yeah. But for her health reasons, we couldn't risk it. Yeah. But I remember sitting home and I was feeling lax and I don't want to say I was depressed, but I was feeling unmotivated. Mm-hmm. And I ran into you at just the most perfect time in my life. And I was like, I'm going to do something. So I started working on different businesses and I was at home. I think it was a little bit over a year ago. I was at home and I'm yelling at the TV like most old men do now. Yeah. You yell at TV and you're like, that's bullshit. I don't believe that, whatever. And my wife, she's like, she came downstairs. She's like, seriously, go tell someone that cares because you're going to wake up your kid. Yeah. And I was like, do you know what? I will. And I came in the office. I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. And like, what are you talking about? Dude, I feel like I'm going to do it. I've been watching Andrew Tate. I feel like I'm going to do this.
Dude, nice.
And I just turned it on one day and I went to my computer, how to start a podcast. Like that's how I'd never been on a podcast before. Yep. I'd never been in a studio before. I had no idea how to do any of this. And I'm just like, I'm just going to figure it out. Yep. Start day one, figure it out. And as you kind of experiment and you learn and you fail and you do things, you'll just improve. And I thought, if I start and maybe in 5 years, 10,000 people listen to me, that'd be a huge success. That's a lot of damn people.
Yeah, it is.
And somehow, I think in the last 8 months, it went from like no one's ever heard of me to, I don't know, maybe 500,000 to 1 million people per day see my face.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And it's because I ran into you at just the most opportune time.
Well, that humbles me a little bit. Thank you, sir. But there was also a video you made, a particular video or something that was like that blew up. Was there one? Was there one video or was it gradual? I remember seeing just one video one day and then I saw you every day.
I made my first video. Okay, so Tucker Carlson got kicked off of Fox in May.
Yeah.
And I love Tucker.
Yeah.
I love everything that he does. And I love his approach of kind of informing people. It's like facts with a little bit of mixture of his opinion. Yeah. And he presents facts in a way to get his side of the story. I love that he's able to.
Smart.
It's smart, right? Because people are like, oh, he's fair. But no, like he's telling his story. I love that. Yeah. And I remember he got kicked off. And then I think it was June 18th, Father's Day, I ran into this story of these. It was in Seattle, a guy went up to a family in a Tesla and shot him cold dead. And the wife.
And you want me to wear headphones? Bro, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I guarantee that guy in that Tesla was listening to music, sitting there. Bro, sorry to interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt your story, but that's perfect example. Yes, a couple days ago, I was in my car and we were sitting in traffic. I had a security team behind me and I'm sitting in the car. I've got a security car in front of me and I'm looking in all the mirrors and the chick goes to me, what are you looking for? I'm like, them. What do you mean? What am I looking? Them? Like, this dude was sitting in his Tesla listening to Katy Perry, sitting there, bang.
Bang.
That's how it goes, bro.
Just like that. But the wife that was in the car with him, she was pregnant, 7 months pregnant.
So sad, bro.
And it was Father's Day, so I just started thinking about it, like, damn. And I made this video first time I ever did one of these talking head videos. And I said, on Father's Day, this one just hits hard, right? Because you have daughters, like it's a tough one. And I ended the story with how many people died that day because she was 7 months pregnant. Yeah. And that really messed people up because all the people that are like, abortion isn't real or they're not babies, but she was 7 months pregnant. They're like, my comment section went crazy because they couldn't, people who think that it's okay to abort kids, they're like, damn, but this is a very difficult situation. Yeah. And my first time ever putting a video together like that, it did like 3 or 4 million views in like 2 days.
Wow.
And ever since then, that video, and then I did one about the submarine with billionaires in a submarine.
Oh, bro, yeah.
I was like, I don't care about these billionaires submarine, and then this idiots going in the middle with PlayStation controllers, and that one blew up.
I mean, there's interesting points because we just talked about how exceptions don't disprove the rule, and that's also abortion's a subject where that happens all the time. Yeah, where you say, I think abortion is wrong. What if she's raped?
Yeah.
Well, who gets pregnant from rape in general? Yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, perhaps. What if she's raped and the guy who raped her has AIDS? And it's like, bro, where is this argument going? Yeah. This is just going down a rabbit hole of insanity. And as for the Ocean Gate thing, the thing that always perplexed me about that, and I speak as somebody with a whole bunch of money, and I know I'm risk averse, as we've just discussed. The podcast has already begun. If you try and make me do extreme things, I'm like, no, walking to my car is extreme. No, thank you. But the fact that people went down on a submarine to the Titanic to look at the Titanic through a TV screen, as opposed to sending the submarine on its own and watching it on the TV screen from the yacht, is amazing to me. I mean, I guess maybe they could sit and say, oh, but I'm closer to the... Bro, you're watching it through a screen. What's the difference? Yeah. And now you're crushed to death.
In a little soda can.
Bro.
That was so stupid.
I mean, yeah, it was hard to feel sorry for them. The memes were epic. I mean, obviously it was a terrifying thing, but the memes were off the chain. I kind of felt bad when I'd laugh at some of them. I'd be like, oh man, that must be scary. But I don't know. Didn't it cross their mind that this is just pointless? If they would have said to me, hey, you can go down in this little soda can. You can see the submarine. I was like, through what window? Oh, there's no windows. Through this screen. I would have said, okay, thank you. Then send the submarine. It takes like 6 hours to get down there or something. Yeah. You send the submarine. I'm going to spend the next 6 hours in the gym. And you let me know we're at the bottom. I got stuff to do.
Yeah, it's not something I would have done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Crazy. So I want to ask you a kind of a question. I've been reading this book called Start With Why, Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know the book. Basically, it's the idea that if you can convince people of your why, then your how and your what are much easier sells. Why do you do what you do now?
That's a very good question. I'm not a philanthropist. I don't do it from a philanthropic point of view. I do it because I think that if you have a large platform and you're a man and you're afraid to tell the truth, then you're a coward. So I do it for myself. I help all the people who come to me and say, you've helped all these people, or you've helped me, or you've done these amazing things for society. That's great. But I don't see it philanthropic. I think it would be unfair and disingenuous for me to sit here and say, I'm trying to save the world. I know I have a platform and I know what the truth is, and I'm not a coward, and I'm glad that I am helping people. And I think that's very important. And I think that God's light is truth. And the more you spread the truth, the harder it is for demons to control us all. And I also believe that raw action solves everything. I think that, just as you said, I just got up and started working and just started the pod. Raw action solves everything. So I believe if you have an objective, you should attack it absolutely. But I do it because I think it. I think these things and people listen to me, so I will say them. And I know I'm punished for that, but I don't see the alternative. I think I would be a coward to sit and say, well, I think these things, but I shouldn't say it because it's going to upset XYZ. The Matrix, as we've seen it does. But could I live with myself as a coward? I don't think so. So if people are going to listen to me and I'm going to talk, then I'm going to tell them exactly what I believe and think and exactly what is true. And that's why I do it. And I'm glad I'm helping people. What's interesting is, I guess maybe I am a good person after. Because if I was saying things that I believed hurt people, I don't think I'd do it. Now, if you want to get deeper down the rabbit hole, would I believe the things I believe and think the things I think if they were detrimental and they hurt people? Probably not. But if I was saying things that I thought genuinely was damaging society, I'd be a lot more likely to be quiet. It's actually quite an interesting thought experiment for me to understand how I'd have a worldview, which I believe propagating would damage society. I can't work that one out exactly. However, I know I'm helping people. I know I'm helping society. I know I'm helping individuals. I'm damaging the Matrix. But I'm helping individuals because there's no light without dark. So if you help individualism, you're damaging collectivism. There's no other way about it. If you say to people, I'm going to tell you how I think and it's going to make your particular life better and it benefits that one individual, that's bad for the ant farm. You don't want one ant to stand up and say, this is garbage. You don't want one ant to say, I'm tired of carrying dirt. This is stupid. No. So I understand what I'm doing is good for the individual and it's bad for the Matrix as a whole. But I'm just telling my story and things I've learned and things I've worked out. And it's very interesting you said about this book. I haven't read a book since jail. I don't read books ever. Everything I say is just me learning the hard way. And I guess I'd like some people at home to learn from my lessons and perhaps they can get some of the benefit without such a hard time, but we'll see how it goes.
I think I have the book here. I'm going to give it to you.
Oh, I can't wait. When I go back to jail, I promise to read it.
Yeah. And maybe you'll have a lot of time to read it. I don't know. Hopefully not. I don't want to say that actually.
We'll see.
Yeah. This is something that you've talked about before, but we're in this war between good and evil.
Yep.
I truly believe that.
Yep.
And what that evil is, I think some people say it's deep state, or it's propaganda, or it's establishment, or it's, centuries old families. There's no way to know who it is, right?
Yep.
And that's the hardest part. How do you fight against the enemy when you don't know exactly who the enemy is?
Yep.
But I feel like in this war of good versus evil, you're a general in the movement.
Do my best.
And I think when you can understand and realize that there is a movement of people behind you, I think that maybe changes your your purpose.
Well, it does make me braver. It makes me braver because it makes me feel like my suffering's worthwhile because I am suffering. I want everyone at home to understand that I don't need to do, you're right. I don't need to do any of this. I don't need money. I don't need the views. It's detrimenting my life. I've lost millions and millions of dollars and I've gone to jail and all my banks have been frozen and they're trying to put me back and all of this is happening. But I think when you ask who our enemies are, I don't think it's as simple as naming a family or the deep state, etc. I think the enemy is deception. Demons operate from the dark, and we're living in a world which is built on lies. Every single thing is a lie. Everything they tell you is a lie. Every system you're supposed to believe in is corrupted to the core. And I think if you're going to make or build a correct society, a fair and just society, you should at least do it under the guise of truth. If you're looking at a chessboard and you have to decide the move you want to make, well, you want to understand the chessboard first. You have to analyze the chessboard and see where the pieces are. We can't do that now because the entire chessboard's cloaked in darkness. You don't know how the legal system works. You don't know how the political system works. You don't know how the financial system works. So when they come along and say, we need to do this for the good of society, how can you even make that decision when you haven't even seen how society functions? So I think if you just tell the truth about everything all the time, from there, perhaps it would be chaotic for a while as the Matrix breaks. It's very likely. But at least if you tell the truth all the time, you have a fair starting block. You have a clear chessboard from where you can decide what moves should be made for how society should function. And we're all humans, and humans are fallible. None of us are perfect. We're making mistakes, and we've built these systems to keep some semblance of peace and serenity amongst society. And we've done an okay job for a while. But I think now we're entering a stage where the highly politicized judicial systems, along with the highly politicized medical system, along with the highly politicized financial system, along with the highly politicized, we're getting to a point now where everything's about to crumble. And I think it's very important that everyone understands the truth of how the world operates before that happens. And my hope is that we can build a new system or there's a new age and a new world where things are genuinely fair and just. I don't want to go on, but just for everyone at home, if you think the law is fair and just, you're going to learn the hard way that it's not. You're going to learn the very hard way. You can go into any jail in any country in the world, and you'll find people who got screwed by their lawyer or screwed by the system. Black, white, rich, poor, everybody. And of course, everyone thinks of the police and the judicial system as somebody kills someone, police catches them, goes to jail. And they do that well, and they're supposed to. But there's also the innocent guy who forgot a number on a piece of paper once in 2001, and his life's over. So, and especially if that person's a conservative, then he's really in trouble. Yeah. So it's difficult. And I'm kind of scared because I say all these things about how the matrix is cracking. We need to build a new system, but it's happening in direct correlation at exact the same time as AI is taking over. And I'm kind of scared that AI is going to enslave us all now. I'm kind of sitting there going, well, if all the current systems break and they rebuild them, they're going to rebuild them with the new technology. Of course, they always would. Is this new technology going to be used for our benefit or to perma enslave us? It's kind of scary.
I got so many places to go with this. We can go into government. We can go into
let's go into Minority Report. Minority Report. We're all going to jail before you even do anything. The AI bot is going to scan your entire personality profile, everything you've ever said, the way you drive your car, the things you say in private, and they're going to come together with this report, and they're going to say, look, this person drives their car too fast. They're reckless. They got too many girlfriends. They're out here spreading testosterone all over the place. I don't like the things he's saying. He's physically large. He could be considered a danger. Arrest him anyway. Minority Report's coming for all of us. We're all going to jail, especially if you're a man. If you're a man, you're only this far from jail anyway.
At all times.
At all times, bro. Yeah. If you've got a dick, you're going to jail. You could be in any state in America. It doesn't matter how conservative the state or how red the state or how right-wing the state. You could be in any state in America. If a girl walks into a police station and says 6 years ago, this man abused me or raped me, and with no evidence, she can't even remember when, you're getting arrested. And if you have a job, you're going to lose it. And if you're famous, it's in the papers and your life is over. You're this close to jail anyway, sir. You're this close. Your entire life, you're skating this close to jail anyway. You think when they get AI, we're not all perma fucked? I think we are, because prevention's better than cure. And they're now learning as they're trying to cure this cultural revolution, because the prevention was keeping us all banned. Now we start to get a bit of freedom of speech. They're now trying to cure this cultural revolution with disinformation committees and internet safety bills, etc. But they don't want to cure it. They want to prevent it. And I'm guarantee whatever systems come next, especially if AI is involved, they're not going to allow us to ever have any semblance of, bro, why would they? Any semblance of freedom.
So when I think about AI, I think about the social issue of the next generation will be human rights for artificial robots.
Oh, bro, we're so toast. I don't even have solutions, bro. We're so toast.
Because if you think about it right now, if you ask anyone that's maybe in their 60s, 70s, and you said, hey, the social issue of our time in 2024 will be men can be women, women can be men. People are like, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. If you ask the previous generation. If you ask people now, what the next human rights for robots, they're like, that's crazy. But if you think about it, eventually one of your children may have a robot. You'll have a robot if they will do your dishes and do all this.
I have one of them.
You get
what does the dishes?
Eventually, we're all going to have one, right? And as technology gets better, they're going to look more human-like, right? Because that's what everyone in technology does. They try to make the voice better, the look better, because you don't want them to be so weird-looking. They don't want looking. Eventually, there's going to be a generation of kids that grow up being taught, raised, basic function of society from their nanny robot.
You're right.
And when they become 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're going to say, oh, we got to take your robot offline. But I love him.
That's true.
You can't take R2-D2. I love R2-D2.
Bro, that's true.
He read to me.
No, you're completely right. And what's even scarier is I find, I talk often about how masculinity is under attack and how they're damaging our innate masculine instincts. And one of the largest innate masculine instincts is protectiveness, and also to a degree, disagreeableness. If you're truly masculine, you're protective. And I think as an extension of that, you're disagreeable. I'll talk about me as a person. If somebody comes into me with a brand new idea, which conflicts with mine, they can explain it to me, and perhaps over time I'll adapt to it. But my instant reaction is no. No. Who are you? Why are you here? That's my instant reaction. And I think that's the masculine instinct. That's why men are protective. It's why we're tribal, right? If a different tribe member arrived at your tribe, you'd be like, who are you? Bruv, don't come near my chicks. Get away from my tent. That's how we evolved for the longest period of human history. And I look at now how masculinity is in decline. And when you have no innate physical capability to defend yourself, you're much more likely to subdue and effectively cucked power structures. And when you talk about things like this with the robot, I see a generation of future men with basically no testosterone level who just fall in love with these robot machines. And they don't see the danger in it because they're ostriches. They don't want to see the danger because if they see the danger, they have to fight. And they don't want to fight because they can't. So instead, they're going to pretend there's no danger and they're going to worship instead. You see this now with liberals. Liberals worship government. They worship government like it's God because, oh, government, please protect us, please save us, because they're cowards and they're weak. So they worship government and think it's a good thing. And that's certainly coming for the AI machine. The worst thing about the destruction of the human race at the hands of AI is that there's going to be a huge percentage of the population begging for it.
Yeah.
Begging for it. The same men now who beg girls on OnlyFans to ignore them, who will send a girl money and say, please don't reply, ignore me, and enjoy it. The same people now who beg for the government to take their money off of them to stop the sun from being hot. These are the same people who are going to be begging the AI machines to control every aspect of their life. You're going to see future fetishes where a man is going to be the robot for the robot. I'll do the dishes. Please, R2-D2. I'll do your dishes. I love you. That's what's going to come because the human race is so fucked. The only solution to this is innate masculinity because God created us with it to protect. That's why God created masculinity, to protect ourselves and others. But it's disappearing. So I'm telling you, the future of AI is more scary than most realize. You could sit down in 50 years from now with people, you could get the whole world in a concert hall and say, AI is going to destroy all of us. We have to get rid of it. And there's going to be someone at the back who goes, but she strokes my pee-pee anytime I want. And he's going to just selfishly accept the annihilation of the human race for his sexual gratification, or because she's his friend, like you said, or because she raised him, because he's not man enough to say, no, we have to protect first. And all of that's disappeared from society now. Protect first has kind of vanished, and we're left in this insane quagmire of different ideals constantly competing. You can apply this to something else. We just talked about AI. Let's apply it to something far more simple. The border crisis. A man thinks, I don't know who these people are. I'm sure some of them are good, but one of them might be bad. Yeah. And if one of them is bad, none of them should come. Because if you gave me a box of Cheerios and told me one Cheerio was poisoned, I wouldn't eat from the box of Cheerios because I'm not an idiot. Women will use an emotional argument. Well, most of them need help. Most of them need to be saved, and we can save them all, which is asinine and incorrect anyway, but that's the emotional argument. And weak men, even worse, will pretend there's no danger at all, because if they accept there's danger, they now need to be brave. And what's the one thing a coward never wants to be? Brave. So a weak man will sit there and say, oh, they're not criminals. How do you know they're criminals? There's already criminals here. You're a criminal. You're homophobic. You're racist. They just want a better life. And they'll ignore the problem so they don't have to ever look in the mirror and realize they're a pussy. They'll do anything to cope their way out of having to be brave and be protective. And then we end up in the situation we're in. If men were still raised with the innate masculine responsibility to protect and provide, we'd be a lot more careful about everything, not just the border, but AI, because it's very obvious where it's all going to go.
Yeah.
And it's not just robots as you imagine robots walking around. I'm sure that'll actually be the cool part of AI. There's actually a far more dystopian, less interesting, and more scary version of AI, which is where we're almost at. Facial recognition cameras on every single corner, 15-minute CEs, electric cars, which can turn off if you try and drive into the wrong area. That's why they want everyone to go electric. Nothing to do with the environment. That's bullshit. So they can turn your car off. That's why they want you to have an electric car. If I get in my Ferrari, you can't turn it off. You got to chase me down, sir. Good luck, police. You got to catch me. I'm good. But if you're an electric car, they just say, what's his serial number? Boop. Turn off the car. Keep the doors locked. He was wrong thinking. Facial recognition on every corner, like I said. 15-minute cities, like I said. They'll control your money. They'll control where you go. They'll control if you can fly or not. They'll control your food. The AI is going to be a little camera in the corner linked to your mobile phone and your national ID from the digital system. And you're not even going to see a cool robot. And AI is already going to wreck your life. You don't even get a hand job from a robot. You don't get anything. It's bullshit. That's where AI is going before the cool robots come. Bro, there are no AI hand jobs coming. It's just dystopian. Yeah. It's just dystopian insanity. That's where we're going to end up. And as the Matrix cracks and they try and rebuild this new system, unless we're very clear to people about the truth of things, we're going to end up far worse than we ever were before. Far worse.
I'm still thinking about this idea
AI hand jobs?
No, of a man walking next to a robot carrying the robot's purse.
Bro, 100%. Bro, these dudes are going to be fully cooked for these fucking things. I've seen dudes fully cocked for chicks, which really ain't worth that much. So if you're telling me you're going to give him an obedient virgin, effectively, which he buys out the box, bro, he's going to be on his knees every night begging, please don't leave me. You're going to have robots programmed to be one step out the door so the man can spend his life begging to keep her there because he's going to love it. The future is so fucked. I don't think people realize, and it can all be fixed if men were men, but they're deliberately attacking that. And they're attacking it for the reason I said earlier. Men are protective. And if you want to damage a society, you have to remove the protectors of society. We used to walk in, the Romans would turn up to the Greeks and kill all the military age males. So now what do? They can't kill us all. So they try and neuter our minds and neuter our innate masculine tendencies. If you're a man, you're toxic. You're toxically masculine. If you're a man, in any regard, you're toxic. If you say to your wife, don't go out drinking with all those other men who I don't know. You're my wife. Stay home. You don't go drinking with men because we're in love and we're married. You're controlling and you're toxically masculine. You're a bad person. How does that even, how can society even function under that premise? How do you even have a wife? How do you have a marriage? How do you have anything? Nothing even makes sense anymore. The ideals that they're purporting and the way they want men to live literally doesn't even make sense. It's impossible to live as a man that way. So you have two options. You either become a wrong thinker, like I am, like you are, like a lot of people are. And if you get too big, that you pay the price because they chop off the head of the snake. Or you absorb all the garbage they put out there and try and poison your mind with, and you end up miserable.
Do you think that they are deliberately taking away masculinity from men? Or do you think that there's a role that men themselves play and they're just willingly giving it up?
Well, we have personal accountability in all things. But I think it's a long and deliberate psyop. And most people don't realize that psyops are built on a very long time scale. People imagine psyop as you watch a 30-minute movie and then your brain's been changed and you've been brainwashed. That's not how psyops work. Brainwashing works over the passage of time, and it works with the slow and gradual normalization of ideas. I'll give you an example. You just talked about how 60 years ago, if you told somebody that a man could be a woman, a woman could be a man, that would be insane. Now we will sit here and still say it's insane, but there's a large subsect of the population who would sit here and argue with us. Our grandchildren will not think it's insane at all. They'll think it's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And as much as we try our best to fight against it, and as much as we try our best to resist the tide of darkness, it's going to come and they are going to win. Yeah. So when they put these psyops in order, they think generationally. As you said earlier, because I like to reference back, you talked about these families that have been controlled for a very long time. Well, they're thinking about the world their grandchildren are going to inherit. And if they want to purport an idea which is negative for the society because it benefits them, they're going to think, I may not see the benefits of it, but Rothschild number 89, he will. So we'll just put the psyop over a long enough period of time. That's what they do. And you're saying men are giving it up. Yeah, slowly and gradually, we are giving it up. All of us do it. Even me, who is very conscious of these things, catches myself do it. I'll give you a perfect example. COVID was the great example. They took 100% of your rights away. Then they gave 80% of them back. Oh, you can go out now. Just wear a mask sometimes, but you can go out and you're free again. Well, wait, a year ago, I was 100% free. Now I'm 80% free. But most people feel free because they were constrained. So they take everything, they give you most of it back, and they keep that little bit. They take everything and they give you most of it back and they keep that little bit. Before you know it, you're fucking begging for a robot to give you a hand job as she's one
this
foot out
damn
the door.
robot.
Bro. But that's where it's going to come. Because also the innate masculine desire to reproduce is also very important, right? Men want to have children. And it's hard for a man to find a wife. It's hard for a man to find a woman to have his kids. A woman can find somebody to get her pregnant any day of the week. But for a man to do that, it's actually difficult. In days of old, you had to be an important man or a man of stature or a man of honor. Why did men join the army? Because they got to come home with that medal so they could get a wife. They'd go risk their lives for this. You had to be a man who did the right things, a man who was strong, a man who was capable, a man who was competent, et cetera, et cetera. Now we have a huge subsect of the population of men who can't get partners, and they've been outsourced to pornography and insanity and OnlyFans and prostitution and all this other garbage, which is one conversation. That's going to be replaced by AI and robots coming soon as well, which subdues the men. If the men don't have to become strong to find a mate, then they're not going to become strong, which once again makes it easier for the population to be controlled. If you had a population where all the men had to be honorable, virtuous men of capability for them to be able to reproduce, you would have an honorable, virtuous, capable society. But if you say to men, you can be a lazy idiot, this robot's can give you a hand job, or you can watch porn, or OnlyFans, or whatever it is, and you can just sit at home and you'll be semi-satisfied and you don't even have to work. You can get food stamps, or you can work a bullshit minimum wage job and we'll take most of it in taxes, but you'll barely survive and scrape some living off at the bottom. And then when their life is miserable and they feel depressed, you can convince them it's someone else's fault, because that's what they do. They come along to these people and say, yeah, your life's shit. It's not because you didn't try. It's because of the white people, the black people, the yellow people, the Republicans, the Democrats, whoever, and make them hate-filled. Now you have a whole bunch of hate-filled, useless humans who do nothing to benefit society as a whole, subdued with garbage, and they are basically agents of the Matrix because their mind can be programmed to hate anyone they're told to hate. And that changes in time, as we've learned. If Trump's in power, there's a big racial divide. If he's not in power, the riots stop. And they just change it around. Who do we need the agents of the Matrix to hate this week? And they just, boom, turn them all on because they're sitting there with nothing else in their life and no honor and no dignity. And they're used to continue the degradation of society. It's insane.
There's something that we talk about a lot, which is normalization of some of the things that happen around us, right? So, for example, why do they allow so much crime in the cities?
Yep.
There's crime everywhere. They can stop it if they really wanted to. All they would have to do is just start arresting people and say enough is enough, and crime would essentially not go away, but be manageable. Right now, they let it run rampant in most U.S. American cities. Why is that? And I think it's because they want people that live in the cities to be like, all right, there's so much crime and we don't feel safe. Please, government, can you give us more control? 100%. Please, government, can you surveil us more? Please, government, can you put cameras here? And can you do facial recognition? And can you do digital IDs? Because if they force it on you, people will push back.
Of course.
If you create a situation where you ask for it, they're like, oh, we're here to help.
Well, absolutely. And that's the only thing that people will give up freedom for is safety.
Yeah.
That's the human mind will only accept a loss in freedom for safety. So you're completely right. They could stop it and they decide not to. And they're also normalizing it.
Yeah.
I speak to people. I spoke to someone who lives in Chicago yesterday. And I was saying, why do you live in Chicago on purpose? Like, you have money and you're there on purpose. Like, you're waking up in Chicago on, like, leave. Like, what's wrong? He goes, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad if you avoid this part, that part, that part. And it's not that bad if you don't go out at night. And then I'm like, I live in Bucharest, Romania, the capital of one of the poorest countries in Europe. And I can walk around at night and I drive a $5 million Bugatti and I have a $500,000 watch and I have no problems here. You've been so normalized to crime that you say it's not that bad if you only see crime once a week and avoid most of the city. It's crazy how quickly people become normalized to these things. And you're right. Eventually, it's going to get to a crisis point, a tipping point. Like I said earlier, when the Matrix finally cracks, they're going to come along with a new solution. The new solution is going to be draconian control because it's all governments have ever done. It's all they know how to do. And unless we get enough people understanding the truth and the light, unless we get enough people understanding the reality of the chessboard, we're in trouble. Because when they come along and say, we're going to have a new judicial system with AI and this, we need people to sit and say, wait, the old judicial system was corrupt. How do we ensure the new one isn't? But if people are sitting there going, oh, the justice system's good, and now we have this new super justice system. No, you have a super corrupt system, and you're screwed. And you're completely right. They're normalizing these things because they're trying to remove the freedom of people and replace it with safety, because all governments have ever wanted since the dawn of human time is control of their populace. Yeah. It's what allows them to be most effective. I'm not going to even be mad at the government. If you're an ant, let's look at it from a business perspective. You have a business, I have a business, right? If I have a business, I have 110 people who work for me. If one of them didn't listen to me, I'd fire him. Yeah. Why would I keep him? My business is not effective if I have somebody inside of my company who has wrong think, right? They think wrong. I believe certain ideas. This is my company. And we have this one person here who disagrees with everything I say. That's annoying. I want him to go. That's fair and everybody would agree with me. Well, now you have to understand why the government hates us. The government wants everyone to comply and obey and do as it says and as it wants so it can run the government how it sees fit. I disagree with that. I am the bad employee. Yeah. I am the person who is annoying to them, especially someone like us, because we have a voice. Not only are we bad employees, we inspire other employees to be bad. Now everyone's listening to us going, wait, he has a point. I don't like this company anymore. I don't like how it runs. That's unfair. That's unjust. Then they want to fire us. But you can't fire us. So you have to put us in jail or teach us a lesson or sue us or take our money or slander us with the media machine. They have to punish us somehow. It's as simple as that, because a government is sitting there as a business, which is how it should be run. They're corrupt to the core, but a government sitting there saying, how do we run our government as effectively as possible? Well, we want robots. We don't want humans with too much individual liberty and too much individual ideas and too much freedom. No, we want robots who comply so we can be effective. And that's why they're going to come along, and any new system they build is going to have that in mind. They want draconian control over all of us. And if you don't understand that, then you're an idiot. They make new laws every day. I've never seen them take one away.
Yeah.
What do we say about them slowly incrementing and damaging your freedom? They make a new law every day. That's law, let alone regulations. When's the last time you've checked IRS regulations? They change daily. You don't even know if you're in trouble or not.
Never.
You're in trouble if they want you to be. Everyone at home is in trouble if they want you to be. You can't even keep up with how fast this garbage changes. So they're constantly stealing your freedom from you little by little, incrementally, because they're trying to make robots of us all. And it's scary.
I've heard that in the United States, any given day, a regular person will break 20 federal laws.
Yep.
Without even thinking about it.
100%.
It's crazy because there's no way to know.
Exactly. And then you understand that your ability to speak freely is directly correlated with your insignificance. Because if you get too loud as the bad employee, and because living a normal life means you break laws, they come along and they screw you. That's what they do. They come along and go, let's get him. And everyone's guilty. That's what's so amazing to me. The people with the slave mind at home watch this, or people who say, Andrew's a human trafficker, or he did this, or he did that. Don't you understand that you're just insignificant and stupid? Because if you had a voice that was large, that people listened to, that was saying things different than what the government want you to say, you would be guilty of something. Everyone's guilty. And especially most of these laws are so insane and subjective. I don't want to go into my case because I'm bored of talking about it. But my case is that human trafficking is forcing somebody to do something for financial gain. I was supposedly doing it via the Loverboy method by being nice. So I nicely helped girls get big on TikTok because they asked for my advice and I told them what times to post. I didn't even make any money from it. The girls made money and they called that human trafficking. Do you have any idea what stretch of the imagination that is? But all the law is subjective. They can just subjectively go, maybe. And then they don't care if I get found innocent. They don't give a shit. They've dragged my name through the mud. 2 years, I went to jail, took all my money. Now I have to go to court, endless millions on legal bills. They don't care. Damages my influence. Why did this case even pop up in the first place? Because someone called Romanian government and said, who's this guy talking so much in your country? Who is he? Look at him. Find something. And they're like, well, he's pretty innocent. TikTok. Go.
Got him.
Got him. And that's in Romania. It's worse in America. Like you said, 20 federal laws.
Yeah.
They got Roger Ver, the Bitcoin guy. I don't even know about this. He was big on Bitcoin. He was annoying them. They got him, they raided his house or something to do with Bitcoin, ended up busting him, ATF, for moving fireworks across state lines because he bought fireworks for his kids in another state. He did 4 years in jail or something ridiculous. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. So you're living under this system, the judicial system, fair justice for all. But as soon as you annoy anyone and they say your name to a prosecutor, you're going to jail. And now they're going to make a new justice system for your safety. Don't worry, we're going to take our freedom away for your safety. And we're going to involve digital IDs and face ID and all these things like we talked about. But you'll be fine as long as you do exactly as we say.
We're from the government and we're here to help.
And that's where the slavery comes. Yeah. As long as you do exactly as we say. Because if you're a bad employee, you'll pay the price.
It's crazy. I think I've been thinking about this, right? So you've said before multiple times that you think you've been canceled because you were influencing the youth, and you were helping them become more masculine. And I've married and thought about that while, like, because as you grow and I'm like watching your trajectory and what happened to you, and all of a sudden my content just went big out of nowhere. I'm like, damn, I kind of have to be considerate to that, right?
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Be careful, sir. Be careful.
It could happen to me. And every day I post something, I'm like, this could literally be my last day. I think it every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did Andrew get canceled so hard? And I've been thinking about it. And I don't think it's because you were influencing the youth. I don't think so. I think it's because you have the largest internet army in the world. And I think because the movement of people behind you, I don't think it mattered if they were masculine or not. You were also teaching them to understand how to use the internet. And I think in the training of an army, they're like, all right, this is over the line. Because right before you got canceled was the, what was it? The GME, GameStop, and Wall Street Bets.
That's true.
And they saw people gather around a movement. And they almost crushed Wall Street. And at the end of the day, spoiler alert, they all got crushed because you can't beat them. But they saw that happening, and that was organic. And that was with a guy that's a leader that really doesn't have the characteristics of leader. Right after him, you came along, and it seems organized, and people are gathering behind you and behind your movement of damn the man, damn the system is broken, and they're coming for you. And they look into you, and they're like, he's also teaching them how to use the internet.
I agree with you. They fear the power. They fear the power structure. I'm the bad employee who got a bunch. I started a union now.
And you're the union rep.
I'm the union rep, and they don't like me. I think in life, if you're going to be non-emotional about things, which I try my best to be, I enjoy being emotional on purpose. I will decide to be emotional in certain situations if it makes them more pleasurable. If I'm with my kids, I decide to be emotional, but I can turn it off, and I look at things hyper-logically. As a hyper-logical man, I will sit here and say that as unfair as The Matrix has been to me, in many ways, they could have been miles worse. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to sit here and say, considering I became the most Googled man on the planet, telling the truth and fighting against their narratives that they've been trying to enforce for a very long time. We said psyops are slow. They've been trying for a very long time to get men to a position where they're apathetic and don't want to be masculine anymore. I've come along and derailed to a degree a lot of their plans in a very short period of time. I've undone years of work in a few short months. I'm surprised I'm alive. I'm not going to lie to you right now. They could have got rid of me much easier. So they've actually been no headphones. They've actually been pretty soft on me considering what they could have done to me. But certainly they fear centralized power structures. And when I was in jail, I got a letter from somebody saying he was organizing a huge protest. I think it was in America, and he said he wants to put a huge protest together, and he's already got 25,000 people who signed up, etc. And I said, no, don't do that, because I feel like I'm already on the verge of becoming a national security threat. Once people start getting in together in huge groups and rioting in my name, I'm toast.
Oh, that's it.
It's over, bro. Once you're a national security threat, I mean, to give an example, my host nation, UK, hates me the most. Members of parliament stand up in parliament complaining about how the fact I'm still on the internet and they can't get rid of me, and they passed the internet safety bill and I'm still there. And these are members of parliament, the most important people in the country and the most important building in the country, talking about how I have to go. Once you're a national security threat, all bets are off. That's when you can get drone striked. That's when you can get assassinated. That's when you can get arrested without trial. That's when you get thrown in Belmarsh for 14 years or whatever, like some other guy. You just disappear when you're an NSA. So NST. So I don't want that to happen to me. So I just sit here and say, look, guys, agency, individualism, work hard, be yourself. I'll teach you the things I know. Yes, sure. But I know the limits of my movement, and I know why they attacked me. And I think we talk about how it's not because I was influencing the youth to be masculine. It's masculinity they fear the most. I think that is a huge element of it. I would say that if I was teaching people how to make money and I was saying certain things, but I wasn't so strict and so large on the masculine contingent of the personality in regards to the fact you have to stand up and die for what you believe in, I don't think they would have seen me as such a threat. But I think they looked at me and thought, this guy is going to be hard to control. And I'll say it right here on this podcast, I've been offered to shut up.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
I've been offered to shut up.
Yeah.
And many people don't understand that this is how selling your soul works, because I've tweeted before, if they ever kill me, the details on exactly how they ask me to sell my soul will be released. And that's true. But what they effectively do, I'll give you the very sanitized version. They come along with a sponsorship contract. And they come and say, look, we're going to pay you $50 million. Your official opinions are X, Y, and Z. You don't talk about this. You're going to wear these clothes and you're going to act this way. And you're going to laugh when they make certain jokes about this certain haram crap. And you're going to be this kind of little fruity idiot like all the liberals are. And you're going to get paid all this money. And if anyone asks you about these things, you're going to say this, this, and this. And we're going to protect you. And they don't say we're going to protect you. What they say is, don't worry, we have huge partners in the media, so we'll make sure that any story before it comes out, we can see it in advance and we can give our own reply. Basically saying, we'll make sure the media says good things about you. We'll pay you money and you're going to have this opinion. And that's how you sell your soul. And then you join the machine. And now I'm guessing, because I said no, I'm guessing that's the beginning of it, because then you get invited to the industry parties, right? If I would have sold my soul, I'd be at the Grammys.
Yeah.
I would have never got arrested. I'd be at the Grammys. I would have gone to an after party at the Grammys. Fucking Trevor Noah or whoever else would be doing something fucking haram in the corner with fuck knows who. I'd be in the same room. It'd be on camera. Boom. Then they got me blackmailed. I'm paranoid. I don't trust this stuff. I don't want to go near these people. I don't want to hang around with them. I don't do any of the weird shit they do. Every 5 minutes, a sex tape's coming out about some celebrity. Some dude, some fucking guy has his dick out every 5 minutes. Why would you do that if you're a celebrity? Unless it's all purposeful or it's set up or they want something on you. It's all a scam. So when I instantly refused, and I think that's what upset them the most, was my instant refusal. When I was offered this contract, and I'm not going to say who it's from because I don't want to die yet. And I said no. And they're like, oh, well, your lawyer, do you want to send it to your lawyer? No. I've just read that I need to have official opinions. The answer is no. It was only a few months after that I ended up in a jail cell. I knew what was going to happen. They looked at me and go, this is a big guy with a lot of influence. There's a lot of people who listen to him. Let's use him as a tool to purport the ideas we want the people to believe. He refused. All right, teach him a lesson. We gave the bad employee a written warning and he refused. Well, then what happens next? Something has to happen. And if you're at home thinking that you can become massively influential and not have the attention of these people or offers like that, then you're not very smart on how the world works. If you get big enough, they're going to come to you, sir. I'm warning you. If you get big enough, they're going to come to you and they're going to offer you a whole bunch of money and you can take it and you'll be okay. Or you can stick to your principles and your morals and you'll suffer.
Yeah, they've asked me to, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? We'll pay you this much, talk about this issue or talk about this issue. And even if it's something I agree with, I can't say yes to any of it because I know if you say yes one time, it's never going to end. You know, you can't say yes and then all of a sudden say no. So it's just not possible.
Well, let's tie this back into what I was saying about how they were threatened by my masculinity and the fact I teach masculinity. What type of person will reject money and reject his own personal financial gain for his morals? A man. Only a man will do that. I will argue now that weak men and women would be far more likely to take the cash for their own selfish interests. Only a man stands up and says, no, this is wrong, so I disagree. Because men have been like this since the dawn of time. Women and children first on the lifeboats. I'm a man, I will suffer, it is my job. So I sat there and said, no, my sanity is not for sale, sir. I reject your $50 million. I don't need it anyway because I'm not a peasant and I'm not going to listen to you. And they couldn't believe it because most people in my position, if I was a girl and of course, I'm not being misogynistic. I'm just talking in generals. If I was a chick and they came along and some makeup brand offered me a bunch of money and like, oh yeah, and you have to, for this episode, you have to do a pro-transgender episode or a pro-LGBT episode because it's Pride Week and here's all your money and you're part of our makeup brand. She'd be like, okay. She wouldn't even realize how far down the psyop she is. She wouldn't even realize what she's doing. Only me as a man sat there and saw exactly what it was. This is a bribe. You are attempting to bribe me. And the fact that I said no and then went on an emergency meeting afterwards and started screaming that my sanity is not for sale, there was a room somewhere. I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was in Washington, D.C. I don't know if it was in London. I don't know if it was on the moon. I don't know where. There was a room of people who sat around and watched my emergency meeting a few hours after I rejected their contract and thought, he's a problem.
Yeah.
He's a problem.
Yeah. How dare he?
How dare he?
How dare he deny our offer? It was a fair offer.
It was a very good offer. And this arrogant idiot thinks this arrogant guy doesn't understand how the world works. The thing is, I did understand.
Yeah.
That's what they don't get. I did know how the world works, which is why I started saying they're going to put me in jail, which is probably frustrates them even more that I'm not scared of them. I understand where this ends and I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm hoping, at least when you said I'm a general, I'm hoping I'm at least inspiring bravery in enough other people because they can't put us all in jail.
No,
they can't put us all. They can put me in jail if I'm alone. But if there's thousands of us, then it becomes harder. Then the matrix cracks. Then the new system is built. Perhaps we can save the world.
And it's something I say all the time. Like, if more people stood up and said, no, enough is enough, they can't cancel everybody.
Correct.
Who's going to consume all their content? Who's going to buy all their technology? Who's going to scroll their apps if everyone is canceled?
Correct.
It's power of the numbers.
Correct.
So if everyone has to say something, otherwise, they're just going to keep on making examples of people. And that's what it is. You take the most famous guy you can, you make an example of him. They try to do it to you. They try to do it to like Russell Brand.
Yep.
They try to do a lot of people out there, the guys who just get out of line.
Yep.
And you can either, be scared and not speak up, or you can join the community of people like, enough is enough. This is bullshit. We don't want to live like this any longer.
Absolutely.
And we understand that there are people out there playing God and we're just the ants. I understand our role in society. However, doesn't mean we don't try.
100%, bro. And I think then you go back into, you can look at that at a deeper level. The reason you try is because if you try, you feel happy in your heart. I can't explain the satisfaction I feel in my soul knowing that I am a problem to the enemy. It's not about, okay, I can't even compare the joy of a Ferrari or money or a yacht or girls or private jets to me knowing the enemy is mad because of me. Maybe I'm petty. Maybe I'm immature. But you know, like when you're a kid and you know you've annoyed someone and you get that smile. It's like deep in my heart. Even when I was in jail, there was times I was in jail, they would take me to the DCAW office and ask me a bunch of questions. And I would just sit there and say, no comment, no comment, no comment. And they'd say, well, if we can get through this interview, you can go home. And I go, I get to go home? They're like, yeah, you can go home if we can just answer these few questions. And I'm like, oh, okay, no comment. And when they sent me back to jail, I was like, yes. Like I've annoyed them. Maybe I'm petty, but I feel that joy of knowing I'm a thorn in their side. And that's what we need more of, because if you don't own your soul, if you don't own your integrity, you don't really own anything anyway. People are obsessed with trying to get hold of money and get hold of all these material assets. They haven't been through the matrix system yet. You don't own that stuff. If you think the money in your bank is yours, piss the government off. You think the house you live in is yours, piss the government off. You think the land you live on is yours, don't pay your property taxes. You don't own a thing. And you can build some complicated legal structure, and you can have a trust fund which owns a company which owns a trust fund, and you can try your very best to Aikido it and hide it. But if you become public enemy number one, if you become large enough, they'll find it and they'll take it. You own nothing but your soul. That's all you have. So that's the number one thing you should be concerned with. I've learned now from my Matrix attack, I don't own anything. All my houses were taken. They found every single piece of money they could find that I owned and they could prove they took. Now, I'm okay. I'm smart. I prepared. But if you're sitting there going, oh, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to sell my soul for money in the bank, that's the biggest scam on the planet, because you don't even own that money in the bank. You don't own anything. It's kind of amazing. People, especially in the West, there are certain countries where they don't have property tax, for example. But the idea you think you own your house and you have to pay property taxes to take it off you just rent it from the government. You don't even own it. And then you paid a bunch of interest on a mortgage so that you can own a house that you now rent from the government. It's all a scam. It's all a lie. And if you don't do as you're told, they're going to take it off you anyway. So what do you have besides your integrity? And I think we need to instill that in more men. That's what they need to wake up and say, I'm doing the right thing, even if I suffer for it.
I just had a thought. If you took the money, you'd probably be Taylor Swift's boyfriend right now.
Bro, full of vaccine.
Yeah, you'd be that guy. You could have been the booster guy. If I took the money, our channel would be 10 times bigger. Our reach would be 100 times wider. But we refuse to give in to the Matrix. If you guys want to support the pod, definitely pick up some merch. It's really the only way that we're able to self-sustain. It's not cheap to go to Romania and get these interviews. It's not cheap to go to Iowa to get these interviews and coverage. So if you want to see more of it, definitely pick up some merch. Let's talk about Taylor.
Yeah, I 100% could have been Taylor Swift's boyfriend. I could have taken the saline injections, because famous people, they can't be dying, right? So they don't take the real vaccine. I could have taken the saline injections. I could have been Taylor Swift's boyfriend. I could have had Dua Lipa and Katy Perry in the corner, cucked. I could have been sitting around being king of it all. I could have taken Britney Spears for a wild ride. She's crazy. That would have been an interesting night. But yeah, I could have sold my soul and I would have been at the Grammys, at the Oscars, hanging around with all these people, and I'd be Andrew Tate, and I could have just shut up about certain things, and I probably could have kept the semblance of my message instead of few things and like skirted on the edge of trying to motivate people, but not saying too much, and just sat there and took the fame and took the money and not go to jail. And I could have done all of that, but I would have sold my soul, man. Don't you understand? Maybe I'm stupid. Sometimes I look in the mirror and think, am I dumb? Like, am I just so petty and principled? Am I an idiot? Couldn't I have just taken the money and spent time with my children and had a fantastic life? Did I make a mistake? And then every once in a while, something happens and it reminds me that I didn't make a mistake. And I'll give you a very simple example of it. Last time I felt like I really did the right thing is when I did Piers Morgan. And he started asking me about Israel-Palestine. Yeah. And he started trying to get me to say what he wanted me to say. And I was like, no, it's a genocide. And I don't care what you say. That is wrong. And that is what I believe. We don't have to even argue whether what I believe is true, even though it is. The point is, if I had signed that contract, I would have been told what to say. And when I put his stupid ass in his place about the vaccine and about Israel and Palestine, I felt good again. I was like, no, I've made the right decision. And sorry, Taylor, you're not going to get the top G. You're stuck with Mr. Vaccine. You're not allowed me because you sold your soul and I refused. So I've now changed the dynamic. It's not that I don't get access to their life. They don't get the benefit of me being part of their stupid club. I win. They need me more than I need them. I would argue right now, nobody gives a solitary fuck about most of those people. Get the Grammy Awards and line them all up and say, name them. And I guarantee you can name 3 or 4, and the rest of them, you don't have a clue who they are.
Yeah.
People who have sold their souls for money, destroyed their own integrity, and we don't even know who they are. They don't even get fame off the back of it. So I don't want to be part of their club. Taylor Swift's going to have to dream of me the rest of her life. She's going to have to settle with second place. She's not allowed to talk G because my soul is not for sale.
Isn't it funny that Piers Morgan's show is called Uncensored, but yet it's very censored?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, Piers and I have an interesting relationship.
Yeah.
Because you know what he's going to do. So to a degree, I respect him because he sits down and gives you a hard time and you know what he's going to do. So I respect that he's very open about who he is. I mean, he's incorrect a lot of the time, sure. But I don't dislike Piers. I mean, he's full of shit and he's sponsored by the MSM and he's owned and he gets paid a lot of money to say the right things. But at least you know the deal you're going to get with Piers. Has Piers been told in his earpiece what his official opinion is a few times? I'd argue a few times a day because he gets a lot of money because he's part of the system. And that's how this all works. What's interesting, though, is that there's nowhere on earth which is truly free because we say these things as if they're a West-specific problem, and they're not. Everywhere in the world is the same. In China, there's certain things you cannot say. In Russia, you better not insult Putin. In Dubai, you better not insult the leaders or God. Every single country has its taboo subjects. However, the problem we have in the West is that the subjects we're not allowed to attack, the ones that are taboo, are the ones which I believe are genuinely detrimental to society. I feel like I have freedom of speech in Saudi Arabia, which is a very controlled country. But I feel like I have freedom of speech because I don't want to say the things I'm not allowed to say. I don't want to insult God, and I don't want to promote transgenderism. So I feel like everything I say is allowed to be said, so I feel free. Whereas in America, the things I do want to say are taboo. They're not allowed. So I feel like I'm very constrained, which is where you get these ideological differences when people say, but America's a free country. You can say whatever you want. Well, you're saying what they want you to say. That's why you feel like it's free. But if you start saying the things they don't want you to say, you start to realize it's not free at all. And it's kind of interesting that America is built on this idea of freedom. The Western world's built on this idea of freedom where most other nations aren't. Other nations are built on the idea of God or the idea of patriotism. We've lost that, and we're saying you don't have to believe in God or any type of God. You don't have to even be patriotic. You can hate this place, but you're free to do whatever. And that's a very interesting scam because to try and hold a scam like that up, how do you make people feel free when they're not allowed to say the things that you don't want them to say? The only way you can do that is by allowing them to be free to do stupid shit. So you say, we're based on freedom. We don't want them to realize they can't say anything important. So to keep the lie of freedom alive, let's tell them they can change genders because you can't do that in most other places. So what they do is they push insanity and say, you're free to be an idiot. And they push that so they can keep the freedom scam alive because you're free to be an idiot, but you're not free to be smart. You're not free to understand how it works. You're not free to tell the truth. You're not free to try and protect your family. You're not free to try and have your own land and your own family and do the right thing. You're not free to do any of that. You're only free to do the dumb shit that they don't see as a threat so they can keep their freedom scam alive. And truthfully, if you look at the West, I think America has the highest incarceration rate in the world, the most laws in the world. Is a higher percentage of its population currently in jail than Stalin had, in the gulags. You want to talk about freedom? Now, if I got this big telling everyone to chop their dick off and I wore a wig, I never would have gone to jail.
Yeah.
Never.
You'd be really famous.
I'd be very famous. I'd be Taylor Swift's girlfriend.
Yeah.
But here I am saying, no, you're a man and you want to be respected in your household and you want your wife to listen to you and you want